Our next question comes from our friend B. Noel. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I've actually been following her training progress on Instagram for a while, and she's made enormous progress in the time she's put into it. She taught herself how to use the speed bag, how to string together striking combinations. She's been training every day for quite some time. She's in her mid-40s. She's gone through all the things that people go through, have kids, have a busy schedule, have, all the reasons not to train, right? But she got out there and she trained and she made enormous progress, and I'm very proud of what she's accomplished. And she has this question. She says, now that I have time to train and I enjoy seeing the changes in my body and mind, and I'm not about to stop anytime soon, and I'm sure you'll keep on grinding too. That's right, I will. If you have time, I'd like to know your opinion about training every day. Most people say that you shouldn't because you need to rest. I love to train every day, though. Cool. So what do I think about training every day? Well, personally, I train 6 days on, 1 day off. And I do that primarily for religious reasons. 6 days on, 1 day off. But it's not a bad idea to do it for physical reasons as well. That 1 day of rest and recovery each week certainly does help. But you can absolutely train every single day if you periodize your training correctly. Now, here's a bad example. A not periodized schedule. Let's say you want to be really good at deadlifting, and so you tell yourself, I am going to do max deadlifts every single day. No, that's not going to give you the results you want. That's not a smart training schedule, because you're going to overtax those specific muscles required for deadlifting. It's going to cause more harm than good. But martial arts is different because there are so many other variables involved, so many other muscle groups, so many other ways to train. So if you're into striking arts, for example, you can focus on something different every single day. If you're into mixed martial arts, even better, because now you got even more variables to work with. You can cross-train grappling, striking, strength training, flexibility, etc. And it all goes in the same direction, making you a better fighter, a better athlete. I always tell people, do something every day to get stronger. Do something every day to get more flexible. Do something every day to get more technical. And even on a rest day, you can still do that. Because what is a rest day? A rest day is something to get stronger, because that is when your body actually recovers and rests and so on. But there's such a thing as active recovery too. Let's say, for example, I train 3 times a day on average. I do 1 session of strength and conditioning for myself every day, generally about an hour and 30 minutes to 2 hours of strength and conditioning, pretty intense. And I periodize that so I can do that 6 days a week. And I generally teach about 2 group classes, which also involve technique and sparring, and I'm very hands-on with the students, so I'm participating in the classes with them, doing what I ask them to do. There's a lot of sweat going on here. And some people, a lot of people in fact, would not be able to handle what I do in a day, because they haven't built up to it yet. And they would look at me and think, you're a maniac, Ramsey Dewey, you're crazy. That's unsustainable. Well, if you're starting out, it absolutely is unsustainable. Some people who've led a sedentary lifestyle their whole lives absolutely would not be able to train like that every day. They would have to build up to it gradually, just like our friend B started out small, and she worked her way up, right? Started out just sort of fumbling around with the speed bag, and then eventually was able to keep a rhythm going, then got some different patterns going on, then was able to mix it up. It happens gradually, right? We don't all start as professionals. None of us start as professionals. We start as babies, and it's very important to remember that. So let me give you a more productive example that an average person could probably do to train every single day. What does the average person do? They usually go to a class. Let's say you're a striker. You do kickboxing, right? So you go to your kickboxing class. You do some punches. You do some kicks. You do some bag work. Maybe you skip rope. Maybe you do some calisthenics. And if you're an absolute beginner, you might feel destroyed the next day. If you've been doing it for a while, you've been training for a few months, a year, it's not that big of a deal. And you might think, hey, I could do this twice a day. I could do this 3 times a day, let alone every single day of the week, right? Or maybe you're doing an intense kickboxing session one day and you feel sore from that the next day, so let's do something else that's complementary but not exactly the same, right? So maybe the next day we're going to go on a long walk to work out some of that muscle soreness, to keep the blood flowing, as opposed to just sitting there thinking, I gotta rest. There's a big difference between just sitting there and resting. Recovery is very much about blood circulation. Why? Because the blood brings oxygen and nutrients to the cells of your body, allowing you to grow, to get stronger, to repair damaged tissues, etc. Right? So it's very important to keep that moving. One of the biggest mistakes people make, they get injured, and then they stop moving. It's a terrible idea. And then afterwards they deeply regret it. Oh man, I busted up my knee, so I sat down for a month, and now my knee is even worse, and I'm atrophied everywhere, and then I got up and I got hurt even worse than I was before, when what they should have been doing is rehabilitation. And when we are sore from a workout, what do we need to do the next day? Sit down and do nothing? No. How about rehabilitation? Because essentially you've injured yourself. You've caused a bunch of little micro tears all over your muscles. You have fatigued yourself. So you got to focus on rehabilitation. Not every day should be a brawl, if you will. Not every day needs to be a pound yourself into the dirt type of experience. In fact, most days shouldn't. You should train at a level that you are able to train every single day. I think that's a very important habit to establish. Not just for professional fighters, but for everybody. Everybody should do something every day to move, to experience the gift of their physical body, to get out there in the universe and train. Why do I keep saying this? I understand that most of my subscribers, most of my viewers are not professional fighters. Most are not even amateur fighters. A lot of you guys aren't even martial artists at all. Some of you just like hearing the sound of my voice to fall asleep to. In fact, a lot of you have sent messages to that effect. Ramsey, I don't actually have any interest whatsoever in physical culture, martial arts, fighting, etc., but I just really like the sound of your voice, and it helps me fall asleep at night because I'm suffering from insomnia. I've received that exact email like 200 times. That's not counting all of those of you out there who fit that description who have not sent me that email. Why do I bring that up? Why? Because the message that I'm sharing with you is that despite your interest or lack thereof in martial arts, you should get out there and train. That doesn't necessarily even mean fight training. If that means get up and walk around the block, get up and do a yoga class, get up and do a couple of squats and push-ups, get up and play with your kids, that's moving in the right direction. Everybody should get out there and train every single day. Appreciate the question, B. All the best to you. Keep training. I'll keep watching. Thank you for watching. Now get out there and train.